for the next session, I'm really, really excited. We've got somebody here that I've been trying to bring to Gold Circle actually for quite some time. Somebody that has created amazing results in building businesses over the years. I mean, the CV is so long. I don't know how I would even be able to give you every single detail of that. But he's somebody that has worked in finance, built up his finance portfolio, made his first money working in hedge funds and raising funding for businesses, has gone on to have businesses in telecoms, been super successful, was a dragon on Dragon's Den for 2 years. We're invested in businesses, has been a member and been on the board of the Great British Bank, and was a non-executive director for the Great British Bank all through COVID. So he was the one that approved all of your bounce back loans. So thanks, Piers, right? So, done some incredible stuff there. We've been trying to bring him to Gold Circle for a long time, because we know how much value that he's going to add, what a great advocate he is for small business and growing businesses. So I wonder if we could stand for a moment. Could we give a level 20 round of applause for the one, the only Piers Lindley? How you doing? Well done, my man. Good to see you. Grab a seat. Woo. That's pretty nice, wasn't it?
Energy there. I rarely walk into rooms like that. I'll probably turn the wrong way.
No, brilliant stuff. Well, thank you for coming. As I was saying there,
I survived my mountain biking weekend.
Yeah, was it fun?
I tried to kill myself just for you.
Yeah. Well, you made it here, which is awesome. So, look, really been looking forward to having you here as a guest. We wanted to have you for quite some time, because of the broad experience you've got in terms of building businesses, and we've got so many people in the room that are looking to grow and scale their businesses, and we'll hear from them a bit later. But you've had all this experience, finance, being on the board of the British Bank, launching businesses, selling businesses, scaling businesses, being a dragon lawyer. There's a lot here. How do we unpack that? And if you took us all the way back to the start of where you started out, what did a young Piers look like, and how have you gone on to have this amazing career?
So young Piers was a slimmer, better-looking version of me. So I grew up in the Pennines, basically in Lancashire. So I was born in Stoke-on-Trent, moved there when I was about 9. And I was always fascinated by the Industrial Revolution, right? So it was always all the mills and the weavers' cottages, always fascinated me. And he talked about the entrepreneurs, the Stevenson, the Isambard Kingdom Brunels, and all these kind of entrepreneurs in the Industrial Revolution. And the Americans, your Vanderbilts, Carnegies, fascinated me. And I always wanted to be in business. Now, I didn't really know what that meant. And where I grew up, everybody had, Graham had a quarry, Eddie had a building business, Derek had a joinery business. They were quite very sort of manual labour stuff, your hands, really. And when I said I wanted to go into business and finance, everybody looked at me as like I was insane. So when I was about 13, my first business I had was that I had a paper round, £5 a week. And in those days, when it snowed up north, it covered your car, literally. So it was quite a lot of hard work. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. And one morning, there's got to be a better way. My late father said to me, because Sunday morning, the news agents, they asked me why they didn't deliver newspapers. You had to go and get it. And because I think they were big or whatever, they couldn't be bothered. And my dad said, go and get my paper, and I'll give you a tip. So I got my BMX, went down to the shop a half mile away, picked up his paper, brought it back, and he gave me a tip. So you can see where this is going. So then I thought, hang on a minute, next door neighbour, that's great, can you get mine before? Anyway, I built this sort of Sunday morning paper round business, which was a massive bag. But of course, I couldn't go and buy the papers from the newsagent because I'd be charging the customer what it's costing me, no margin. So I'm already learning these things at the age of 13 about margin. So I disintermediated the local newsagent, went straight to the wholesaler. Well, my dad,
really? Wow.
My dad did. and got this big bundle of papers dropped on the door, like you see in films every Sunday morning. Sorted it all out, wrote out who got what, delivered them. I earned 20 quid on a Sunday morning for about 4 hours work.
Nice.
So I learned there, talking about, what you learn is that if you see a problem, a niche, or you solve it for somebody, especially a problem, solve it for somebody. And you can do it where there's enough money, where there's a margin for your time to make it worthwhile. And let's not forget, you put a lot of hard work in. Let's not forget that. Then you can create some wealth and make some money. And I wanted to buy a BMX bike. I'm still in bikes. I love bikes. And it allowed me to buy my first sort of posh BMX, basically. But I took a lot away.
Do you remember what one it was? On the side
I do. It was a Curtis. I'm actually still helping the bike company today.
Is it Curtis?
Curtis BMX. I'm talking to the guys who
At a Mongoose. Do you remember them?
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
mine was a British brand.
All right.
Unknown. But I took this all away, and you learn a lot from it that I kind of took through. And at the age of about 60, I think it wasn't cool to have a paper round anymore. So it was my first exit, and I sold it for 200 quid.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was in M&A. But you can see almost the whole life cycle of a business.
Yeah.
The days where you didn't want to get out of bed, or it was raining. But that was how I got into it. And then after that, I don't know how old you are in the room, but who remembers Betterware? Betterware, cool. So delivering pots and pans and the things to help an older lady open a jar. And I was selling things, this is pre-Amazon. And I was selling these like door-to-door stuff. And that's where I learned to sell. Because nobody really wanted a bit of rubber to get a lid off a jar. but I could sort of try and persuade you to buy one off me. And that's where I understood about, more, that was more, I'd say, a bit about selling, a bit about customer service, and also dealing at quite a young age with quite a large company, as it was.
How important was that learning to sell? Because I truly find that obviously we train thousands of business owners and, we have done for many, many years. Often if this piece is missing, it can really, really, make it tough for an entrepreneur, isn't it? So learning to sell early, how much do you think that helped you?
So I think I made a video on this. I posted somewhere once. So in retail, it can be location, location, location. In any business, retail included, it is sell, and sell some more. As you've learned building businesses, that revenue solves a lot of problems. Just money just coming in the door. You can make lots of mistakes with revenue. If you haven't got revenue, make a mistake, they're even more costly. It just slows you down, can be very, very risky. But if
I like that way of putting it, though. I think that was...
If you can't sell, so forget location, location, location.
Yeah.
Sell. So if you can't sell, or even if you try to learn to sell, and you're not confident, you haven't the right personality, or you're not very good at it, you've got to find somebody else who can. If it's online, it's digital. You've got to find someone that understands and really can be anally retentive about data and analytics and converting and A/B testing, because that's not for everybody either. So if you can't do old-fashioned sell, which I've done, or to the digital marketing, which is kind of sales on a page, find someone who can. Otherwise, you will not succeed. And that's simple.
And you learning that at Betterware, going out. So
you
went door to door?
Knocking on doors, yeah.
So you actually went door to door?
You delivered a pamphlet, gave it a bit of chat, and then you came back a week later and said, anything you want. And they'd be like, look to that. Then you'd be kind of like pointing at the page saying, you should definitely get an easy whole can opener, or whatever. And then you sold it. And then after that, I did things like university, of course I did party, things like that. And at law school, I did company formations, I knew how to form companies. And when I was a trainee solicitor, I did film finance. So EAS, like funding into films, you could put some money in and get a part in the film as an extra. Usually a corpse on a battlefield. So it wasn't that exciting. So even from my paper run, I guess, after that, I was always in business. So I was sitting there as a banker at Credit Suisse, after being a lawyer in the city. I was an M&A banker. Even then, I was doing the film finance. And then .com was a side project. You call them side hustles now. I don't like the word hustle. It's not hustle, it's a business. And then that became something I stepped into out of the city into my first .com in 99.
What mate, because you had that very much that corporate career. You were, and those companies you mentioned, Credit Suisse. And
you say that. So when you look at my CV, and you go, well, you went to Manchester University, you got a degree in law and accounting, you then went to a law school, a decent law school, you then joined a good law firm, qualified as a lawyer, you then joined a good bank, you then moved up to a better bank, and became a hedge fund manager.
And then you left.
Well, it looks like I had a plan. Right? If you look at it from my end, right, I didn't have a clue any of that was. I didn't know what being a lawyer was until I got to university. I didn't know what being a banker was until I was a lawyer. I knew none of this stuff. I didn't have a Scooby at all. And I had to sort of battle my way, climb up on a box and look over the hedge and say, oh, that's interesting, I want to do that. But the beauty of it is, I always say that when I said I want to be a corporate lawyer, people said to me, people like you don't become lawyers. You didn't go to the right school. You didn't go to Oxbridge, got Oxbridge then. You didn't go to Oxbridge, don't get your hopes up. So I became a lawyer. When I was a lawyer, people said to me, I want to be an investment banker. And they're like, it's very hard to move from law to banking. Luckily, I did an accounting and law degree, so I knew numbers. And they said, but again, people like you don't become investment bankers. So I became an investment banker. So you can see, I was always
rebelling,
quite blinkered in a way, but very, very determined to sort of get on.
And I think that rebellious streak, though, is quite a good thing for an entrepreneur. That if somebody says that you can't do it, if somebody says you can't have it, and just actually having that strong will to go and create it is a real entrepreneurial trait.
The danger, though, is if you're successful, no matter how you measure that, so imagine you've got your chips and you put it on red comes up.
Yeah.
Okay. And you think, I'll put it on red comes up. I'll put it on black this time. Black comes up, and you think, I'm a genius.
That is so true.
You put them all on red, black comes up. That's the problem.
That is so true.
So you've got to be slightly careful that you're hedging your bets along the way, and when you're successful, that you're not all just putting it all on red again.
And it is. I've definitely been there 100%, where you feel like everything you touch turns to gold, and then you realise it sinks.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
because
when you look back now, you feel like a fool.
Yeah.
Well, why would I have done that?
Yeah.
But again, it's experience.
Yeah, it definitely is experience. So when you went through that process and you go out and you step out of that world into starting your business, what did you experience? What changed for you? Did you see things differently? Did you?
Yeah, so it's an interesting time. So I kind of left. So I was a lawyer. I joined Credit Suisse First Boston, which was a bit like Goldman Sachs, a big bank. So I was earning £250,000 a year at 25. Bought my first car and a debit card.
Nice.
I thought, oh, this is great. I bought a flat for cash almost, my bonus. I was giving my mum bonuses and she was crying. That was just like money. and I was crying. Because the problem is, no matter how much money you earn at that age, you spend 110% of it. so I had that issue. Property prices were growing then, so that was all right. But what was interesting, I think, is that, so I understood law, finance. I was good at presenting things. A lot of banking's PowerPoint and presentations, not the numbers. It's selling deals to companies. Like, we were trying to, merge Halifax and HBOS, that kind of thing, into HBOS. And I came out and I thought, well, I've got all these skills. How hard can it be? So you have a business plan, and you go out, and someone gives you, we raised about £1 million, I think, put £1 million, and you've got a business plan. You get your little office. You think, well, how hard can it be building a business? And then very, very quickly, reality bites. Hiring people, building a team, technology, managing technology, building technology, which wasn't as simple as it is today, with cloud technology. So we realized very quickly, actually, that the reality is quite different to the textbook. It is, and essentially it's about people, managing people.
And how did you learn on the job? How did you learn on the job? You started to build that team out, but maybe the first time you'd done that part of it. What was it like for you?
So I'm quite a fast learner. I've tended to have, until I had one business more recently, which didn't quite work out, where I've had a co-founder. So what that co-founders are sort of augmented each other. So I learned very quickly, but you tend to learn by making lots of mistakes. Both in terms of strategy, execution, people, timing often. But we had, in the dot-com phase, this is late 99, what was interesting is we raised the money, and in March, the bubble burst, quite literally. So suddenly, we're going from raising money. When I left Credit Suisse, you see the films, like these like Hollywood films where they're in a big bank and they get fired, and they've got a box with a plant in it. It's literally like that. So you go and get your bonus, make sure it's arrived in your bank account. Yep. And then you go and resign, and they give you a box and your plant. And off you go. And as I left the building, people said, well, what are you going to do? Where are you leaving? I'm going to start .com. I raised $700,000 leaving the building.
Did you?
Well, I probably closed about 400 of it. In terms of people going, I'll put some money in. That's what it was like. So I went from that to halving the size of the team, couldn't raise any more money, doing a down round with existing investors, and then me having to end up leave because I was too expensive as well, even though I was earning half less put 10% what I earned as a banker. And then my co-founder's family funding, and I left. So I saw kind of really a whole economic cycle that would probably take you a decade normally, maybe a bit shorter now, but a decade in about 14 months. So I learned a lot very quickly. And then I went into dance music and record labels and all sorts of interesting things. But eventually then what I did was I came out of that and I thought, what is my core skill? What can I do? Which is quite important is, play to your strengths. Don't just always try and reinvent something that you don't know anything about or you've seen on YouTube or read a book about. Do things you're innately or can learn to be good at and then just be world class at it. And I thought what I'm very good at actually is selling and finance and being innovative in finance. So I ended up going to Manhattan. I built a website that looked like Goldman Sachs. Went to Manhattan, people looked at my CV, kind of stacked up, and I ended up there's lots of hedge funds, like investment funds that do sort of technical investments, and I putting hedge fund money into broadly, mostly UK listed company investment opportunities. So I became an estate agent for hedge fund money.
Nice.
And that's where I first made some cash.
Yeah.
But
So
again,
you-
it was playing to my strengths.
Which was selling and
Selling
finance.
and finance, yeah.
So understanding
So I
the
sold
finance
finance.
world and bringing it to people
Yeah.
that pretty much didn't understand it, almost, yeah. Solving that problem, and that set you on the path.
So I
right?
made some money, and then I was always when I wasn't spending it, I was I was investing it in friends' businesses, trying to do a bit of M&A. It just fascinated the whole thing, helping someone set a company up, buying a bit of a business. And we bought a couple of businesses, and one of them was we bought off Dixons. That's quite big money by now. You're buying companies like for 5 million maybe. It's not enormous, but 5 million. And then we bought a company off Dixons, which is Curry's.
Yeah.
And it was a mobile phone business that they weren't interested in. And we built it into quite a big business, about 45 million in revenue, about 5 million EBITDA, and then we sold that. So that was my first kind of, I made money like income and capital.
Yeah.
That was the first kind of exit. Then after that, a few sort of exited. But what I found with me, I have to keep planting seeds like a farmer. Otherwise, I can't harvest them. I can't sort of, I get this sort of dry patches sometimes. Then after that, really, I went into cloud. I built a business in cloud. This is like cloud infrastructure. Everyone's used to it now. You think about, you don't think about it. But back in the day, you were putting servers in a room in the corner of your office, and you were calling it the server room. And that's all in the cloud now. You don't think about it. And I was one of the first, my business was the pioneers, trying to get businesses to adopt cloud technology. And we built that up, and we won a massive tender. The tender, I won't mention the name, big telecoms businesses, didn't get to market in time, and we ran out of money. I had to sell it in a fire sale. I lost about 2 million quid.
Did you really? Wow. And it's so interesting you mentioned cloud. I remember many. I think this must have been. I remember them talking about cloud, and I remember watching Mark Benioff talk about the launch of Salesforce and at a Tony Robbins event, and I was really young. I mean, this is like ages ago, and that went on to be a multi-billion-pound company. But what's really interesting is as we were sat outside, and we'll come back to this maybe in a minute, you were talking to me about AI and how that's where your focus is, or a lot of your focus is at the moment. I think that'd be really interesting, which we'll come to in a minute. But one of the things that I've been doing with the team, obviously what an amazing career team, right? Huge, amazing. And obviously you've got to have a very strong mindset, and you've got to be,
You already got to 2010.
We only got to 2010. Well, you then got this. As fast forward a little bit, we've been talking about halo effect today and building a brand, and how when you become known, things typically become easier for you. You get more opportunities.
Well, let's talk about that. That's not always the case, but go on.
No, I'd be really interested to hear your take on it, which would be awesome, especially for everyone in the room, because there's people at different stages. There's people here that have gone on and built really great businesses. There's some people early in the stage, some people at the beginning, some people that are looking to grow, some people looking to scale. We've got all these different sizes, and they've got to make themselves known and build that brand. I know that you took how did you come to find yourselves after all of that, getting yourself onto Dragon's Den? How did that come about?
So you don't kind of get yourself, they kind of come and find you. So so in about 2008, I was approached by the government to be a role model for young black men and boys. And I was kind of like, why? I never thought about it, because I was just doing my thing. And they said, well, look around you. Do you ever meet yourself? I was like, oh yeah, right, actually I don't. Especially, my mum's from Barbados, my dad was from Manchester, so I never anyone with Caribbean heritage in anything I ever did. So I became a role model, and then from that I ended up on a list of the most influential black Britons, the 100 most influential black Britons. My dad used to say, in at 99, son, well done. And then through that, the researchers start looking at TV programs. How do I find someone that ticks a few boxes, right, which I do? Comprehensive school kid, mixed race, all that stuff. Grew up in Lancashire. And I ended up doing The Secret Millionaire. Who remembers The Secret Millionaire?
Oh, yeah.
So in 2011, I was on The Secret Millionaire. Little interesting thing there. So I met a lad in prison. I was in prison, basically, in the young offenders. And he got 11 years at the age 19 for drugs and firearms-related offences. Wasn't as bad as it sounds, but that's what he got. And I want to mentor him. The producers lost their minds, so he can't give him money. I go, so I'm going to give him money. I want to mentor him. So he came out. I didn't mollycoddle him. I was like the uncle he never had. Bit of advice, his first rent guarantee. Gave him a job, actually, as a support engineer in our IT business. He loved IT. Made him redundant. Slightly awkward day. He then started a business, didn't work out, went back into sort of computers and cloud. And now, 10 years later, I saw him about 3 weeks ago. I went round to his house. He's probably earning 130 grand a year. He's a cloud infrastructure architect with a family. So the point there is, in your life or people you work with or anyone's life, if you can deflect it here, right, 10 years down range, right, it's somewhere very, very different. So that's what that story is about. Anyway, through that, the researchers then approached me saying, do you want to go on Dragon's Den? And I was kind of like, do I? Do I really? I don't know. And I was away. I'm busy. I was away with, I'm going to drop some names now. So I was away with Sir Richard Branson at his private game reserve in Ulu Saba in Kruger. Not because he likes me, because I gave his charity about 50 grand. So we were all away in this place, right? It's like a...
But there's a lesson in that.
It's like a James... Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I did a lot of work with the Bransons after that, and I'm still friendly with at least Holly. It was a good networking to do. Anyway, he's got his sort of James Bond lair in the bush with a satellite dish on top of it. And they kept ringing me saying, where are you, what are you doing, we need to know. And I thought, who do I talk to about how you mix business and the media? So I ended up having a conversation with Richard Branson on this, I remember this clearly, right? It's not some made-up, reverse-engineered founder story, this. They often are. But we're having a Corona sitting on this table, looking at lions chasing impalas around. And I went through the whole thing, and he goes, no, you should do it, you'd be good at it, and people on TV like you. He said, I used to get on a plane for a TV spot. Don't forget the power of TV. It's just slightly Instagram taking off. And he goes, you should do it. I go, thank you for your time, I really appreciate it. And I got up to walk off, and he goes, get back here, made me call the producer, who I know to this day, and said, and tell her that I'm in. That ended up on Dragon's Den. So, and I get it now, look, sticking up my arm. I get this thing thinking that you've got to remember that you're this comprehensive school kid, the only black kid in a school of 2,500 kids, a big school. You've gone from there, I failed my A11 plus, did my O-levels twice, did an A-level twice, so I got into law. And then suddenly, sitting with Sir Richard Branson, the only entrepreneur I've ever looked up to, on his private game reserve, asking him for advice whether he should be a dragon on Dragon's Den.
It's pretty amazing, right?
Isn't it? It freaks me out.
And I have to ask, because I think really, I love the fact that you gave to the charity. What motivated you to do that? Where did that come from?
Well, I had 50 grand.
Yeah.
So I was able to do it. So partly I've always been, I think philanthropist a bit strong, but I've always been, the only mentor I've ever really had is a chap called Sir Ken Alyssa. So Sir Ken Alyssa is a Lord Lieutenant of Greater London. If you ever see the royal family out in London, coronations, funerals, weddings, he's the mixed race looking guy in a nice black suit with a sword. He looks after the royal family. I meet him every 6 months, and he's like, I have a little mentor. I met him about a week ago, actually, 2 weeks ago. Have a little mentor session. And he's actually got a coat of arms, which I aspire to have. And his coat of arms underneath it says, do well, do good. I think that says it all, doesn't it? So my view is that if you can give back, if your glass is, overflowing, no matter how much it is, how big your glass is, you should give back. And my focus has been diversity and inclusion. not just in terms of ethnicity. It can be gender, sexuality, anything. But my view is that ambition, like this room, right, different ages, sexualities, genders, ambition, as far as I'm concerned, is evenly distributed, right? Access to things like this, what you do, guidance, finance, support, isn't. And you need to connect the dots, because everyone should have a chance of being the best person they can be. So if you can, and what you, even this room, you all think you're here and you're learning, you'd be surprised at how much social capital you've already got.
Yeah.
And you can meet somebody, just like I did with Daniel 10 years ago, that deflection. He met me. All I did was some guidance, some social capital. Social capital is just you, your contacts, where you grew up. You might have a bit of extra cash to help out. And by deflecting his life there, 10 years down range, he's in a very different place. So I've always thought about giving back, something I've always done. I've founded about 2 charities, one with Sir Ken, that aim to do that.
Nice. How did you meet him as a mentor? How did that come about for
I
you?
think he's a good example of how you get a mentor. So I met him at an event. I think it was like the sort of the Black Power list, where I was on this list of influential Black Britons. He was number 1. And I thought, I want him to be my chairman. And then we got talking. He became my chairman.
So you actually sought him out?
Yeah, so he was my chairman in the business. It took him about a year to say yes. And then I was a founding trustee of a charity he founded. It's called the Alito Foundation. It helps more sort of Afro-Caribbean leaders of tomorrow. And we helped him start that charity up. And then he became my chairman. And then that business is the one that didn't work out really very well, the cloud business. But since then, he's been my sort of mentor. And he's the guy that, people blow smoke at my backside, right? Quite often, sometimes too often. And he's the guy that I went to about just after COVID. I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. I was just getting divorced, lots of various issues. And I sat down, I was going about it. He kind of said to me, Piers. I went, what, sorry, what? And he said, self-pity does not suit you. Sort your shit out. And he's one of the few people that can literally...
But you do need that sometimes.
Get out.
But you do need that.
And I remember leaving the room thinking, you know what, he's absolutely right. And sometimes you need that.
100%, yeah, that sounds... So he helped you, and you took that opportunity when you're with Richard Branson in South Africa. You made the decision to go on Dragon's Den. What happened next, and how did that impact you?
Let's say you come on Dragon's Den, you turn up at the set, they put some makeup on, because I clearly needed it, and they you sit there in this chair, Deborah, Peter, what the hell? And then they come out of the lift, which is not a lift actually, it looks like a lift. They go in a cupboard. There's some footage of some lift machinery, and they come out of the cupboard again. So the magic of TV, and you got your pile of 50s, which is not actually the top 2 are 50s, and they paint the sides. But I'm giving it all away now, aren't I? I'm ruining it for everybody. But the artists who make those things, you can be in the lift literally, where they've got like old paint dripping down, or where some old canister scratched the lift side. It's all painted, but it looks so real. It's amazing. So you sit down there, and these entrepreneurs start coming out, and you probably see 12 minutes on a full pitch, maybe 4 on a little short version, but they're there for an hour and a half, grilling them. And I did 9 deals, 9 handshakes, 6 happen. Some don't because they're not really there for the deal, they're there for the PR.
Yeah.
Some you do something which some people do forget. It's called due diligence.
Yeah.
So you actually find out that it's just a pile of nonsense. Actually.
Yeah.
Just making it up as they went along. And then 6 got on quite well. 1 didn't work out, a curry business, but I'm still friendly with the founders. We're now 4, I got my money back. Comes a day where you're like, look, it's lifestyle business, you don't want me involved anymore. And they're like, okay, we'll give you a bit of money, jog on, so I did. And then I invested in one called Wonderbly. I've got children, these beautiful personalised books. And I think that's the best deal ever done on Dragon's Den. Best deal in terms of investing, build a business, sell it. So I put in 100 grand in there, 5%. I was the first to do kind of tech deals, really. All the Dragon, this is like Deborah, Peter, Kenny Oppen and Duncan. I know Duncan quite well to this day. And they were kind of, what are you doing? You can't get 5%. It's not what this program's about. You're going to ruin it, We come in here, changing everything. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's a tech investment. What are you asked for? 30% for 30 grand? No. And they had a term sheet from a VC. So I thought, well, someone's done some due diligence.
Yeah.
And they thought about the valuation. I'll go with it. And they sold it for It's not a public number, but I got a 45x return.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, have that. All right, well done.
So you know, and that was like a real. If you know venture capital, my portfolio on Dragon's Den is like the perfect miniature venture capital portfolio. A few don't work out,
Yeah.
a few go bust. Some
And
become
one.
what they call things you're never going to get out of because they don't grow enough, and one returns the fund. That's what they
Yeah.
call it, and that's what it did. So. A great experience, but like I was saying before we came in, is that you were saying that it's always good having a profile, and this, but I think with a profile, it's like you need to know, you need to understand who you are, what it is, and what you want to do with it. I wasn't sure. I ended up on TV suddenly, and they called me a reluctant celebrity. I didn't go to the opening of a fridge or the opening of an envelope. I wasn't interested, and I had to think about, well, who am I? What do I represent? And actually, to sit down, I remember, it's probably after Dragon's Den as well, actually, sit down and think, well, who am I? What do I do with this profile? What can I do to make money? Fair. What can I do in terms of leverage it for good? And what else could it be used for? It took about, I'd say 4 years probably, to really sort it out. And I remember Sir Ken saying, right, Piers, you can now become a celebrity and go in the jungle and eat witchy grubs or whatever the hell it is. Or you can be serious. So I became a trustee of Nesta, the UK's largest innovation foundation, National Lottery Money, a 600 million foundation. Learned a lot there. Ended up on the board of British Business Bank during COVID.
Yeah.
So bounce back loans. We put 90 billion into the market. I didn't sleep for about a year doing that. Signed up for a board meeting a month. We're doing 2 a week with 200 pages of reading. Saying, should we release 15, 20 billion into the market to SMEs with no credit checks? It's this kind of conversations. I'm glad we did. So I kind of went the serious way.
What was the impact of that? I mean,
It's been a longer arc, but I think it's come good over time.
So do you think...
They saw me just celebrity at first. Like, now they probably see me more as, he's more of a serious person that was a celebrity. So I haven't been defined by Dragon's Den, I think. I think it's quite important.
And the banking that you did, and you were involved in that, and you did, the British Business Bank was the one that did all the loans, as you mentioned. What do you think the impact on the economy that will have, or long term? Do you think it was the right decision? Do you think it was the right deals?
It saved it.
Yeah.
So think about, if you're trying to, the problem now, people go for these committees and they try and think about the past. It's very hard to imagine what it was like to be in the past, in the future. But at the time, it was like literally the economy is shutting down, literally on a daily basis. The lights are going out. So what do we do? So you need to get the money out of the door. So any barrier you put in front of it was going to be an issue. Also, creating a whole new scheme would have been difficult because it takes time. What they had was the loan guarantee scheme. So you use the same rails, but put a different train on it, essentially, and then got it into the market and didn't do the credit check. So, there's going to be fraud, there's going to be, complications, but it's the only way to do it, and then that saved the economy.
Yeah. Very massively powerful in terms of the impact. It did keep the lights on for a lot of people, didn't it?
I tell people that, and like, you on the board of British Business Bank, they can't, sometimes I kick myself thinking it's quite amazing, actually, that I was there at that time. Which was, an important time which can have an impact on the economy for generations, actually.
Awesome. So I guess the next question is, what's next?
So I've been involved in Web 1.0, the internet, really.
Yeah.
And then I kind of did a bit in blockchain, but everyone in blockchain got lost making money out of crypto. So I did a bit of that, a bit of social media, then Web 3, kind of crypto, blockchain. And then now the big one really is, what I'm going to say, is artificial intelligence. So when I was a trustee of Nesta, did a lot of research on the impact of AI and robotics on regions. So imagine that, I did a post recently that kind of blew up on LinkedIn. Imagine that in the northeast, broadly speaking, there's a lot of call centres, right, employing hundreds of thousands of people, right? The days of humans, and we'll talk about this maybe in terms of your businesses, the days of humans answering the phone in first-line customer support, the days having a team doing prospecting, initial prospect qualification, they're done. It can be done by AIs. And even last week, OpenAI launched ChatGPT-4 Omni-O. That's even better. I mean, they sound like humans. They can do things. They can interact. They can set appointments. They can update calendars. They can integrate APIs, update your CRM. They're infinitely patient. You don't need a desk, a phone, a headset, a call center, a building, or heating, rates, lights, blah, blah, blah. It's all going away. The call center is going to disappear and sucked up into the cloud. Anyway, so we were looking at that kind of research, thinking, how is it going to affect the economy? That's why I first got interested in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And then when you saw ChatGPT arrive, I thought, this is the one, right? Anything I've ever done in my whole life is pointing at this. And I thought, do I invest in it? Because it's changing so quickly. The things are just, I'll give you an example that, you saw that there's a model called OpenAI Sora, which makes 60-second HD quality videos from a prompt. You can say, I want to fly through I don't know, I think there's one example I did, which was an old West town. It looks like an old West town. It looks like you filmed it on a helicopter. Unbelievable. And when they posted that on Twitter, because of X then starts populating my feed with all these adverts from text-to-video startups. And literally, my feed's full of adverts of companies that have just died. So that's the danger of AI. It's moving so quickly that it's knowing where to invest. The beauty of AI, for everybody in this room, is that you've now got cloud infrastructure, which means that you don't need to own infrastructure. You don't need to own anything at all, almost. It's all subscription-based. It's fully scalable. And on top of that cloud infrastructure now, you've got large language models and AI. And that might not prove to be the technology that works, but right now, it's a large language model. So we, collectively, can innovate across the top in ways that you could not have dreamt of 2 years ago. So my view was, how do I paddle into this wave? So I started a company with another chap I've known for a while. He was on one of my podcasts a few years ago. He's a dentist by background. He did a machine learning how to look inside your mouth with a laser and do your dentistry. And we set up a company. We thought a lot about the branding, and we called it Implement AI. So it's just say what it is on a tin, basically. So we help companies understand it, embrace it, and automate their business. Don't think about AI, think about automations. Where do you spend hours doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing? Admin, the mundane, automate it. And then, secondly, normally, where can I use this technology to do things in new and interesting ways, like prospecting or customer service, knowledge bases?
So your company, Implement AI, how do you? Is that something that you supply businesses with?
Yeah.
That tool. So how does that work?
So we do like some.
I think you might have a client here.
So we do like productized consulting, really. So what is it? Embrace some training. So often with this technology, if I talk about it in the room, a lot of you are thinking, well, what does it mean? How could I use it in my business? So until you've done some training, you don't really understand its capabilities. And once you've done a bit of training, you can then say, that's what it can do. So actually, it could automate all this crap that I do over here every Tuesday morning or on the weekend when I want to spend time with the kids or walk the dog. So it's a bit of training. It's a bit of understanding your workflows and processes, picking off the ones where you can add some real value, and then automating them as like a pilot. Once you're comfortable with it and you understand it, you start to automate everything you possibly can.
So the product that you're building, will that serve businesses of all sizes, or does it start off at bigger businesses?
The products will.
Yeah.
The consulting's the investment there.
Yeah.
But we work on a return on investment. So it's just like saying, look, listen, work out what it's costing you today. So say a call center. In a call center, we do a lot of voice stuff. In a call center, it's costing you maybe, if you add it all up, £4 or £5 a call. We can do it for like £1 without the stress and the training and the manpower. It just does it. So
Nice.
if there's one thing from my session today, one thing you take away, apart from hopefully some of the tips I've given you, is sign up to ChatGPT Plus or Claude Pro, one of these paid for AI models, and use it. Use it, not that I want to
I'm obsessed.
I don't want to ruin Adam's business here, but use it as a mentor.
Do you know what's ironic?
Talk to it.
Do you know what's ironic, Piers? Is one of the things I did as I was driving in this morning is pull my phone up and said, give me every single detail on Piers Linley and give me 7 really powerful questions to ask him.
I did that to you.
Oh, you did? I've probably got more on you than you did on me.
But so OpenAI have just launched this Omni. It's just come out. Can't get it yet. And what's amazing is they're making that available to the free model. So now, who's seen the film Her? Yeah. So you've seen the film Her, where this guy falls in love with this flipping Siri, basically. And So
I'm not saying.
the free model now of ChatGPT, not the plus one gives you a few bells and whistles. You can now talk to it, and it will talk to you, and it sounds like a human. It's fast. You can change the voice, the intonation, the way it talks to you. You know, its sex, its gender, whatever you want, and it is basically you have a infinitely patient sounding board, mentor, business partner. You can ask any question. And if it's stuff that's a bit techy about your business, doesn't understand, you can upload information in the background, give it context. So now it becomes an expert in, I don't know, dog walking or who's got the holiday homes? The holiday homes, whatever it might be, someone mentioned. So you can give it context, so it understands you, who you are, what you're trying to achieve, and what you do. So when you talk to it, you don't have to keep doing it every time, it's just there.
Yeah.
So that will, I will say, it's like, so imagine you've been dragged out of this room now, and you've been forced to get into a cage fight to the death, and it's a steel cage, right? And there's a big, massive dude in there who's been cage fighting all of his life, or woman, and you can take Iron Man with you, and you go, yeah, you know what? Nah, I don't know how it works. It's like that, literally. You are missing out on that kind of opportunity
I so agree.
to change your outcomes.
What I find incredible is that a lot of people, and it's amazing how fear dictates people taking action.
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yeah.
So with any technological wave,
Yeah.
you have the old curve called S-curve. So you've got the early adopters, rapid adoption, then it slows down and tapers off. You see that mobile is a good example. Everyone's got one now, so it's tapered off. And then you get the new tech comes in, which might be glasses that you can talk to.
Yeah.
You don't need a phone anymore. But this case is AI. So AI kicks in, and you get this period as the new tech kicks in, the early adopters of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And on my website, there's an article I wrote, a blog, and it's saying that FUD this time can be fatal. So FUD with cloud didn't really matter. You know, you can go to the cloud tomorrow, next year, in 5, it doesn't really matter, right? Digital transformation, you might get away with not having a website, maybe. You can use Google. AI, no. So in AI, think of it this way. Picture in your minds, there's a big shiny ship leaving the harbour. We're all sat on the quayside, and we can all still make the leap onto that ship, but it starts to move away faster and faster and faster until it's at exponential speed, and to the point where you cannot make the leap onto that ship. And if you're not on it, it is not coming back this time. You know, and large parts of society are going to be left on that quayside, and we all need to collectively work out how we support those people. But especially in business, in an exponential world, being late is fatal. You can never catch up. It's an exponential. So I always say, people struggle with it, right? So try this.
How can we adopt? You know, I love this conversation because I think it's really awesome for everybody in the room. Actually, you know, even if it's not the sort of conversation you were looking to be exposed to today, I think it's an important one.
But it can change the way you operate.
Oh, I think it's so important. Yeah,
you can build a business now where you think of adding people and costs. So now you build your revenue, and your cost doesn't do that anymore. It's flat. So it's more revenue, more profit.
Yeah.
But the point is this, you know, think about you walking your dog past a lake, massive lake, can't see the other side, and there's a tiny bit of algae just there, and you look at it. Next day you walk past, it's doubled in size. Next day it's doubled in size, and it doubles in size, blah, blah, blah. And after 30 days, it's just about covered half the lake. So in an exponential world, how long will it take for it to cover the rest of the lake? It's a day. It's 2 lakes in 2 days. That's exponential change. So the key is not to panic about it, but it's to understand it, use it, embrace it, and just learn more about it.
What are the sort of things that you're doing to stay on the front foot?
I mean, I live and breathe it. We've got a podcast. This is all we talk about every week.
What's the podcast?
And it's called the AI Assisted Organization. So
The AI
Assisted Organization. So we call these AI Assisted Organizations. Some all good podcast platforms. Although I didn't do one last week because I was in mountain biking. So we'll probably call one tomorrow or tonight or tomorrow night. And that's really about how do you use AI for business, not for consumer, not all this. You know, how do I make a nice picture of some fluffy dog with a pink ears? Just how do I use AI in my business? That's what we focus on. And I write all the notes, do the research myself, so I want to learn. And even I struggle to keep up with it. So it's not really worrying about that. It's use the platforms that are evolving. So Google Gemini, Claude's very good for documents. Claude Pro, OpenAI, ChatGPT. You probably heard about it. use them and just understand it so that you can start to understand, well, actually, I can actually automate this and it could do this for me. Or I can improve my sales prospecting or my customer engagement. So now I've got a video, I won't get it out, but I was in Wales at the weekend and I created an avatar of myself, took 20 seconds. And I typed in something saying, this is Piers talking different languages and also Welsh. So then it talks, it's me, and my lips are like deep fake. They're changed to look like I'm speaking that language. It's English. So it's me speaking, looks just like me, a bit posher, the accent, but it kind of looks like me. And then it's me again in Welsh. You know, I don't speak Welsh, right? And my lips are shaped, look like Welsh. And I asked the Welsh speaker there, because I'm in Wales, and they kind of said, that's pretty good. Not, oh, well, it didn't do this, didn't do that. It was like that. They were quite shocked, actually. So now you can engage customers in any language in real time.
That's amazing, actually.
Your face.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible, isn't it? Right. There we go. We have to launch in China now. You know, but that's the sort of thing, isn't it?
I always say,
It's global.
The beauty of AI is this, right, is that we always said that cloud meant that small companies could go after big opportunities now. You need to build infrastructure, right? The large language models on top of that cloud have added this additional infrastructure that allows you to innovate in ways you've never been able to do before. So even now, even more than ever, it's a great time to have a small business because you can now do things and compete with the big operators in ways you've never been able to before, and you're all going to be more nimble. What's interesting, though, I have to say, is the big companies get it because they understand this is winner takes all. They're throwing millions at it. So unlike some technology, the big companies are really, you're seeing it, it's happening, they're embedding this technology because they know what the ROI is.
And I think all real top entrepreneurs, you know, it's interesting that you're saying to it. So I remember I was listening to someone interviewing Mark Cuban, for example, the other day, and Mark Cuban was just like, listen, I'm all in on AI. I'm forgetting everything else. I'm just going all in. And he's like, I'm taking the training courses. He was doing all the, you know, like really trying to, it's really, really interesting.
AI, oh, what's that? So don't think of AI, think of automation. How do you automate the mundane? How do you get rid of admin? How do you embrace customers, engage customers in new ways? You know, so we've all got an email list, right?
Yep.
And you have customer avatars, personas. So you might say, I don't know, I've got 1,000 people on my email list. There's about 5 types of people. So I'll send 200 emails of 5 different types to this 1,000 people. Now, you can send every single person based on their profile, their website, what you know about them, what's in your CRM system, an individual personalized email in any language that you're speaking to them to 1,000 different people. So you're getting into hyper-personalized engagement. So who's going to win that customer? You doing that, or somebody else sending an email after 48 hours with from MailChimp?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I think it's... I've loved the conversation. A real good. Should we give it up for Piers? Yeah, huge. We like to open up to a couple of questions, Piers.
Yeah.
You like to do a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got. We're always the same people ask the questions. The first hand goes up there straight away. Because I was going to go over to Mohammed because I know he's obsessed with AI, right? So we go Rayhan first, and we go over to Mohammed right next. Give it up for Rayhan, team. Yeah.
Hi, Piers. Thanks for being with us and. Just want to mention I'm a startup coach who was on a uni version of Dragon's Den as a judge. So I just wanted to say very cool to see you. And you mentioned when Adam was introducing you threw out the word that you're a lawyer, but he didn't mention that. Why is being a lawyer an important part of identity? I'm also a corporate commercial lawyer, so I just thought I'd ask that.
Well, for me, I wouldn't recommend anyone becoming a lawyer now because AI is going to kill them. Large language models, there's a Q in the name, what they do. So for me, it was a way of, think of like an egg timer, right? So I had a lot of opportunity, but I wanted to be a banker and a lawyer in the city. And it was very, very difficult for me to get into the city because I didn't have the right school tie, to be honest with you, at the time. And becoming a lawyer, which is very hard, it took me 60 applications to get one training contract. And so becoming a lawyer for me was like a way of sneaking through that little restriction, the egg timer. And once I got through it, no one ever asked me again what school I went to. I was a city lawyer, and the opportunity kind of came from there. So for me, it was a very important achievement, but also a fantastic skill, because what is business? It's just a collection of contracts. That's all it is. You've got a legal entity, which is you, and you have customers, suppliers, insurance, whatever it might be. It's just contracts. That's it. So it's a great skill to have. And I was a venture capital lawyer, and I've done lots of investment and structure things. So I still use that skill to this day.
That's great. One small follow-up question. So you talked about getting on this roller coaster. So what do you think about UBI?
Oh, wow. That's a whole different conference. So UBI is a universal basic income. So the point is that AI becomes, because don't forget AI now is going after cognitive work, cognitive labor, knowledge work. So anyone is human where their job is, or your job, is to take data out of a computer, look at it, think about it, and put it back into a computer. AI can do that, right? But eventually it's going to be embodied AI, so robots. So AI in a very nimble, capable sort of embodied version of it. And the idea then is that all cognitive labor goes away and all physical labor goes away. So I reckon with my daughter's just doing GCSEs now, poor girl, and I reckon in her lifetime, it'll probably be illegal or unethical, or you can't be insured for a human to work on a building site or drive a car around the city in her lifetime. So the problem there is, what the hell are we all going to do? So the question then is, the UBI is about this basically universe, like a tax, a sort of a credit system where everybody gets an income from the government, so at least you've got something to do. And I think that within 20 years, they're going to have to think about something like that. Not for everybody or everything, which is why in some ways building a business that isn't disrupted by AI is a great opportunity. You'll probably be able to rise above your UBI. I was at a conference with Goldman Sachs in Manchester about 2 weeks ago, and I gave a talk on AI. This lady came up to me, like almost in tears, saying, I was showing her I was doing a demo of translation, and she goes, what do you do? She goes, I do translation. I was like, oh, God. And I thought, all right, come on, Piers, get yourself together. I said, okay, tell me about your business. She goes, well, I do translation in these sectors, quite specialized sectors. Well, how do you translate? Well, I've got all these different consultants, people. I goes, okay, where's the value? Where's the customer? So I said, okay. So I always say that, imagine a pyramid. And in that pyramid, that's where the value is in business, or society generally, actually. And it's been filled up with industrial revolutions, with technology. So no point moaning about it, we have to move the top of the pyramid and add more value as the tech fills it up. So I said to her, I said, look, okay, think about this. All your translation, all those costs you've had, which is your major cost in your business, goes away. What you've then got to focus on, especially regulated sector, is QA, customer engagement, checking it's right, checking it doesn't trip over any regulatory issues, and you focus on that and building that business. Anyway, I said, here's my email. I didn't want to upset you. I got an email a week later, you've transformed my life and my business plan. Thank you very much.
Nice. Lovely job. Good question there. Lovely job. Go over to Mohammed. Yeah, great question, Rayhan. Yeah.
Hi, Piers. My name is Mohammed, and I'm here with my life and business partner, Shamina.
The boss.
Basically. She literally is...
Did you two have a conversation where you agreed that every time you would engage, you would announce that?
Stop people assuming, like...
They did that Saturday, so...
But,
What do you do?
So we provide speech therapy, so mostly in schools, but we also have clinics as well. And we operate in care homes as well, so we work across the board. Now, speech therapy is so obviously there's a lot of face-to-face therapy that goes on, but it's actually, what's not known is it's a very admin-heavy profession. So what we're currently looking at, even before AI came along, was how can we reduce that administration? So we were working on tools even before, like, ChatGPT. But what ChatGPT has done is given us, it's opened up the market, but it's opened it up so much that we're a bit lost in terms of which avenue to pursue. So I know there's opportunities for instance, reducing case notes, automated report writers, etc. It's which avenue to pursue, because we're currently looking at an AI case note. So what it does is it takes the recordings from our sessions and it puts it in SOAP format.
Just on that, that's the most powerful thing. Never, ever have a meeting, although I did do it last week, I admit. Never have a meeting or a brainstorming session that you do not record the audio. Because now you can transcribe it, and the AI can understand and recall and analyze every single word in that meeting forever. That's one thing.
I actually use Firefox AI, and
Yeah.
I've been using that before.
Fireflies.
Fireflies, sorry,
Yeah.
not Firefox. It's really good.
That's a good film, though.
Yeah.
Firefox is like
Yeah, it's
80s internet.
Yeah, Firefox was a web browser. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question, I think, is twofold. One is basically, how do we, in healthcare, where basically the FUD is a major obstacle, not for me, because I love AI, but FUD is a major obstacle for our clinicians, number one, and number two, clients, especially institutional clients who basically, oh, what about GDPR?
Yeah, but
what about
that's
this?
today.
What about that?
So two things, right? Three things, actually. Oh, I'll probably forget the third one usually. So one is that AI today is the worst it's ever going to be. So no matter what you look at, no matter what you use, it's the worst it is ever going to be. It is changing fundamentally sometimes every quarter, right? Secondly, right now, these industries like finance, healthcare, especially the regulated ones, they all are, we want humans in the loop, and it's very important that we can't rely on the technology. In 5 years, they will not want to talk to a human, because humans mess things up. They want to talk to AI, that a human has had some input, but that's where they're going to take the information from. And then the thing in your business is to, don't worry about the technology so much, worry about your business, your processes, map them out, the workflows, and then work out, how do I use technology to improve what we do? So I'll give you an example. So we built for a client, actually, it's a consulting AI. So imagine that you've recruited a new consultant. It can be a salesperson, basically, but they're new, haven't got years of experience. But the senior consultant, salesperson, whatever they are, has years of experience. You can now say to that junior consultant, in that engagement, use the AI, and it prompts them on what to say. There's listening to the meeting. It knows what they should be asking, what they need to know, when to upsell, and they're talking to the person, but it's prompting them. So suddenly, all your junior consultants are as good as the senior ones. And also, in what you do, I'm pretty sure that some AIs can do that pretty well. So have you looked at Hume? Hume can do Hume, Hume AI. Things like that, they can do sentiment analysis, understand speech. I think you'll find that lots of, I'm sure there's levels of speech
Therapy.
Impediment, whatever term you use. And I think you'll find that some of that technology already can understand it, spot it, and actually help and support people today, never mind tomorrow.
Sure.
That's
So
awesome.
in terms of the machine learning, so what we were looking at was, and we had like major kind of obstacles in terms of resistance, is how do we train? So obviously we don't want to replace people doing certain functions, especially in healthcare.
No, we don't replace them, but what you want to do is augment them.
Yeah.
And you want the people, going back to my pyramid, you want the people you've got to be adding the value at the top, not doing all the dross. That's the key to it.
Sure, yeah.
So use the tech to make them better at what they do, which means you've got a better product, service, and a better business.
I mean, one last question, sorry. Do you have...
Do you want to come up here?
Yeah, I think, you know what this normally costs?
That's why I'm getting
What is that?
for the FUD, I know it's like a mindset thing, but how do we overcome some of that?
But number one, you're delivering a product and a service to your customers. They don't need to know how you're doing it, to be quite frank. So I wouldn't go, just do it.
Yeah.
And what they're going to get is a better service, and it's going to cost you less to deliver it. Everyone's a winner.
Brilliant.
Good stuff.
But the FUD will go away.
Yeah, we'll come over there.
Thank you.
Big round of applause. Do you want a still water or a sparkling water? Still. Yeah, there you go, mate. Cool. Okay, a couple more questions we've got time for. So we go Piers, and then I think Ricky's had his hand up the whole time as well. So let's go Piers, we go Ricky, and then we'll wrap up. But some great questions, team. Like these questions.
Hello,
Yeah.
nice to meet another peers. I don't come across them very often.
Are you another peers? Are you?
Indeed.
They usually look like you. What do you do?
I'm a hypnotherapist,
Okay.
working with teenagers and then also working with people who are made redundant because and laid off because they're panicking, they get depression, suicidal thoughts.
And that's going to get worse because jobs are being automated out of existence.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there a way that, in your view, or what were the first couple of things I should start doing to future-proof my business?
Well, that's a good question. So your business actually is pretty much future-proof. So another ask on my blog, on my website, called how to navigate a career path in the age of AI. Okay. So I'm not convinced there's much point, you know. So my stepson, Alfie, he was learning to code. And I was like, you've got to learn to code. If you can code, you'll never be out of work. And he's like, right, okay. So he learned to code. This is like 6 months. 6 months ago, I said, let's pay for another batch of lessons. There's no point. AI does it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I know it does, but blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I did the research. And now I agree with him. There's no point in learning to code. Complete waste of time. So anything where there's an interaction with a human that's personal, anything where it requires human, it's sort of tactility or tactile, touching things, building things, designing things, art. You know, what we've perhaps got wrong in our society is that the big money goes to knowledge workers. So if you're a lawyer, banker, hedge fund manager, you get the big bucks, right? That is all going to be automated away. But what's amazing is, I didn't know this, that if you could hold the world in your hands, a scale version of it, human touch, consent, difference between a house and a garden shed. That's how sensitive our fingers are. So if you're a masseuse, you're laughing. So a long way away from robots, cutting hair, being a masseuse, maybe in a stoma, I don't know. So it's finding things where that human connection is very, very hard to replicate for the foreseeable future. So what you do hypnotherapy, there might be other ways of providing therapy, but if you decide you want hypnotherapy, you know, a machine could do that, but that's quite a personal interaction. So it can be hard to scale as well. So that's the key. The key is to look at the technology, look at where it's going, and try and navigate a path where it's not going to be intersected or headed off by this technology. But anything which is basic knowledge work, processing data, understanding data, applying logic to data, is going away. Anything else isn't. So a business, no matter what business you do, is using the technology to do what you do, like we're talking about there, but to augment you. So what you can do probably is become a better hypnotherapist, or because all the stuff you end up doing post the session, which takes most of your day actually, goes away.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Give it up. Good question, Piers. I think we've got one last one for Ricky. Oh, go on, Nick. I don't want to replace you, right? Can AI run a mic? Or
Hi, Piers. I'm Ricky. I'm a GP. And actually, it's a little bit of a lead-on question from Piers, because people often tell me, actually, you're safe to a degree because being a GP is much like about a personal relationship. But are we going to get to a point as a race where actually people will interact with an AI avatar because we're just moving and we're evolving to be able to actually marry an avatar or have a GP as an avatar, because it's just becoming just the norm over time? Are we moving to that kind of place where we actually don't need human interaction and we can...
Yeah, I think so. It's about horizons, isn't it? Okay, so if you're a GP, so actually we're doing some work with pharmacies, and so a good example is a dental practice, right? So dental practice, they've got people answering the phone, and they're missing out on opportunities because they're not really trained to answer the phone or sell. But we record all the calls. So going back to the call recording, you can analyze every single phone call, what was said, what was missed, what the price list is, and you can create a sales pipeline of missed opportunities. I think in the pharmacy as well, it's things like, so quite often our lives are full of filling out forms, right? Now you can talk to an AI, have a conversation, it can pull out the information it needs, it can then say to you, well, based on that actually, and based on your profile and your age, you probably should go and get a blood test or get your blood pressure test, whatever it might be. And then pharmacies get paid for doing that. So I think in healthcare, in the short term, it's the pyramid. It's because you're regulated as well, so there's that problem as well. But insofar as you can, it's automate the mundane, automate the admin. But if you go 5 years out, 10 years out, 30 years out, you'll find that most healthcare is automated because it's very, very good at it. But you're still going to need a human probably to have that personal touch and have that regulated overlay. But a lot of the work will be done by technology just because it's going to become increasingly good at it.
But do you reckon as punters, they'll be able to develop a relationship because the AI is so good and so individual that they almost don't need to steer?
Well, so that's horizons. That's maybe 30 years out.
It's there, it's coming.
But it's hard. The thing about exponentials, going back to the lake analogy, is whatever you think in an exponential, you're a scientist almost, you've done that kind of degree, is halve it. Yeah. To literally halve it. Yeah. That's probably when it's going to happen, actually. Yeah. So when I say 30 years, you're probably looking at 15. But you can see within 10 years that most healthcare will be automated.
It's clearly going to massively disrupt. Like, we might be having to think about our businesses and the danger of AI and the impact, and whether we need to pivot a little bit and protect ourselves from
Well,
where
now
we're
it's a good opportunity for you, though, I think, in terms of admin.
Yeah.
Automate-
But
automate
if
the
you're still a novice, obviously you've got your podcast, but if you've got like a top 2 or 3 things novices would do to just start learning quickly, is it, obviously we can go on ChatGPT and stuff and listen to your podcast, but any other tips to learn?
So I do a presentation on AI, and we have sort of basically rules. So the first is, like I was saying, is record everything. So, GP surgery might be different, but record every phone call that comes into your business. Use a VoIP system, whatever it might be. Record every meeting you have. Record every team meeting you have. Even record yourself lying in the bath thinking about, well, you know what, actually, what I could do is just thinking, record everything. Because it can all be used, it can all be stored, used, and understood by artificial intelligence, and then cross-reference with all the information and context you provide it to come up with answers you've never thought of. So that's the first thing, really, is record absolutely everything. And then, second one, really, which is a bit more generic, though, is just augment yourself. Whether you're using AI yourself, like we talked about earlier, use it as a personal sounding board, sidekick, mentor, whatever the hell you want to call it. Use AI yourself. And then start to work out, how do I automate parts of my business?
Yeah, a lot of people, I just love to add to that, it's just a lot of people get a bit too worried about what might happen in 10 years. But if you're a user, you're a part of it, and you are starting to go on that journey. And I really feel, the question you're asking, I really feel like I do have a personal relationship with my AI to a degree. I feel like it's my mate because I use it. Anyone, those of you in Inner Circle, how many times have you seen me use it? I use it non-stop, and it feels like a relationship.
Go on the OpenAI website and go and look on YouTube and go and look at the launch, the demo they did of ChatGPT 4 Omni, and just watch the demo. It is like the film Her.
Where did you say that was?
It's on YouTube. So OpenAI, it's the ChatGPT 4o, which is Omni product launch, and they're talking to this thing, saying, "Put me a bedtime story," and it's telling a bedtime story, and he goes, "No, I want more, put more into it." And it's going, "The house," and then he goes, "I want a robot," and he goes, "Initiating robot voice." I mean, it is insane. And what was interesting this morning, one of my co-founder, he's doing a demo. As Alok, he was showing me a call agent demo, and he was talking to it, and I said, "Whoa, that's fast. What have we done there?" He goes, "Oh, we just use a new API." This is the point. About a month ago, I posted on LinkedIn a post saying call centers are going away by 2026. All hell broke loose, right? And now everyone's like, "Oh, it's not quite as good. The timing." A month later, that's been dealt with.
Lovely. Lots. In terms, it depends. Do you want more questions or do you want a photo?
That's all right.
No, she's going to cry if we don't give Paul a question. So let's come over here, right?
Photo of you asking the question.
Thank you. He had 3.
That is true.
I'll keep it really quick. So I'm going to be doing some fundraising probably in 6 months. I just need to. I'm switching my business model at the moment. Thank you to your.
What do you do?
I run a business called Film and Furniture. I've noticed you've made quite a few film references, actually, as you've been talking. So if you see a really interesting piece of furniture or decor in a movie, then we talk about why it was chosen, what it tells us about the characters, and then where you can buy it for your own home. So incorporating...
AI can definitely do that right now.
Absolutely.
So it's huge for you.
The difference being that it's not a click farm. It's very deep. It's very nerdy. We talk to all the creatives we talk to all the production designers, the directors, the whole story behind why these pieces were chosen.
Who are your customers? Who's that for?
General public.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, really good SEO. So
Yeah.
if you Google whiskey glasses in Mad Men, you'll come to Film and
They
Furniture.
can go and buy it then?
Yeah, so you can buy it through.
Yeah.
So we're working on
cool
some...
business.
Yeah, that's quite good.
So we're... Great, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking for funding.
Great, right?
Get to that.
Oh, you get close!
Before you get to that, though, so if you look on that thing I told about, the ChatGPT 4 Omni launch, they have this is the Google Gemini update, which was last week as well. Look at that, and they're walking around with a video going on their phone, and as they're walking around, it's explaining what it can see, and it's asking it questions. So I don't know how you do your analysis, but a lot of it you'll be able to automate.
Yeah, so we're using it to analyse, but also it's very much about the personal, about why it was chosen, what it tells us about it, the very personal aspect. But
how big is the business?
How big?
Yeah, like profitable, revenue, roughly?
We're just switching the business model at the moment.
Right.
So basically it's been e-commerce, but we're trying to do too much. So we're going back to the basics, and we're launching podcasts and building it as more of a content business.
Because raising money, there's two types of money. I mean, there's lots in the middle, but there's debt and equity. Okay, so debt is for businesses where it introduces risk in terms you don't pay it back, you won't own your business. So, but you need assets, cash flow, cash flows that have a track record. Otherwise, it's very hard to raise normal bank finance. Lots of other funky types of finance. You can do finance where you can just sort of finance your credit card receipts essentially through Stripe if you want to as well. There's that kind of finance. Then there's equity, and equity is where someone ends up owning a part of your business.
Sure.
So so the first thing, decide which way you're going,
sure,
and then how you do it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean,
is it debt or equity you're thinking about?
I need to get more proof of the business model before I get to this stage, because I've been thought about going on Dragon's Den for so many years. I can't tell you.
Then I'll give away half your company unless I'm on it.
Because actually, my question was going to be. I mean, you've answered more than I had with my question. Thank you. But I mean, my question was going to be.
But so let me ask you a question, right? I haven't answered it. So debt's one thing, right? There's banks, you can go talk to them. Computer says yes or no, to be quite frank. And then you've got funky debt where they'll ask for more. Then they'll ask for personal guarantees. And then your house on the line. So think about that. If it's equity, you've got to think about: do I want to sell part of my business? Do I want to change the dynamic? Do I want other stakeholders? Maybe you do. Maybe it's a good thing. But think of it as concentric rings. So in the middle, maybe not you, a startup. The best person to raise money from is your mum and dad, right? If you're young, you go and do that. Next is people that they know who you are, so it's family and friends, hence they call them family and friends rounds. They kind of like the business model, but they're kind of investing in you, really. Then you go beyond that into sort of people who are friends of friends. They don't really know you at all. They're going to look a bit more at you and your business plan, ask more questions. They might want more protection as well. Then you get to angels. They don't know you from Adam. They're going to throw a lawyer at you, an accountant, and due diligence. And you get to angel networks, who've got to watch the backs of those angels. So even more complexity, more process, can take up to 9 months. Then you get into VCs and private equity. So you're somewhere in the middle in equity, and you've got to think about, and then you've got things like crowdfunding, which I have done. But crowdfunding, really, you want businesses that are quite established, there's a story, and that the kind of risk profile is understandable. Most crowdfunding businesses are not kind of startups or pivoting. So you're pivoting. So if you pivot, you're kind of in a way starting again, required to do. So think of those concentric rings and where you can actually go and raise the money, because you will spend a huge amount of time and waste a lot of time trying to push a square peg through a round hole.
Yep.
Lovely question. Well done, Paul. Big round of applause, yeah? Super job. Well, look, I have to say, Piers been amazing, everybody. What a one, honestly, brilliant value there. So many great things for everyone to take away. We're going to do a photo now. So if you would like a photo, I suggest you stand up, go to that side of the room, and we're going to come on over. Well done. Brilliant session. Give Piers a huge round of applause, team.